Hello and welcome back, guys. So, as promised, this is the video in which we will start writing our first JavaScript code. But before we do that, we need to understand a few basic things. So, JavaScript basically has 7 types. We're not going to get into the other types until much later on in the course. So, we're going to start with the 3 most basic ones: number, strings, and booleans. Might feel like I'm saying a bit of gibberish right now, but don't worry, by the end of this video you will understand all 3 of these and it will make total sense. The software I have opened right now is called Sublime Text. It's a free software, you can download it. I really prefer it to write code. I mean, there are also other softwares out there like Visual Studio Code, which is also pretty good. It's just that I learned most of my coding on Sublime, so I find it easy to use. But if you don't have Sublime right now, don't worry, you won't need it at least in this video. But make sure you do download it. For this video, all you need to do is just open your Google Chrome, then go to Inspect and go to Console. Okay, so the first JavaScript type, as I said, was numbers. So basically that means like you can do something like 6. You can, okay, you can do 6 plus 8. You can do 6 minus 8. You can do, I don't know, 4 times 5. You can even do something complex like, well, these are some of the ones that I have done before. So like 5 plus 5 times 8 divided by 6. And if you do this, then it will give you the answer. So basically all this means is that this is valid JavaScript. As long as it can process it and answer it back, it's valid JavaScript. And the reason I'm telling you this is because calculations are also a very important part of JavaScript. So the first type is numbers that helps us perform those calculations. Now I get it. Don't think this is a clickbait, that I'm just showing you guys calculations and there is no coding involved. Trust me, this all makes sense by the end of this video because I'll also give you some exercises, so you will need all of this. Now, the second JavaScript type is strings. Strings is just like writing a text. Like you write a text using either single quote or double quotes. So like for example, I write Sean. That's a string. I can write Bob. That's a string. I can do actually Mary. It's a string with single quote or double quote. But actually, we can even do this. For example, we can do welcome plus 2JS. And then if I press enter, welcome to JS. You see what it did here? It added both of the strings. But actually we need spacing in this. So what we need to do is we need to do actually welcome space, close the quotes, plus 2JS. Then there we go. Welcome to JS. Now JavaScript has a bit of let's call them quirks, and there is no way to get around it. You're just gonna have to learn them or just remember them. Like for example, over here, JavaScript just took 2 pieces of text and added it. But what do you think happens if we do something like this? Well, welcome minus 2JS. doesn't make sense because you can't minus a text from a text, right? So like I said, JavaScript has a bit, a little bit of quirks. Another one of JavaScript's quirks is this. For example, if I were to do here, if I were to do you aren't boring, this works. Let's see if this works with single quote. You aren't boring. You see over here carefully that the syntax just changed. This means that JavaScript is not understanding what you're doing over here. So you see, you have to, if you're going to follow the same format, if you're going to follow the same quotes one after another in the same sentence, and if you just do it like this, it's going to give you a syntax error because that's not the proper syntax. JavaScript doesn't understand because every quote in JavaScript means something. But over here, we don't want it to mean anything. We just want it the way it is. There is no special value attached to this. So the way to get around this is that you go with single quotes. You say, you aren't backslash, comma, t, boring. And then it makes sense. This backslash over here, this says whatever is after me, I want it as it is. It doesn't have any value. It doesn't have any meaning. I just want it the way it is. So this is a way to get around this when you're writing, strings. Let's see something else about this 50, which is a number. You see the blue. When it's blue, it means it's a number. So 50 plus, let's say, a string of 20. What do you think will happen? See, it just added a number and a string like this, like together, because it just thought that, okay, you're trying to add it and it just combined them. But let's see what happens if I do this. 50 minus 20. Okay, so this time it did the correct solution. It actually subtracted it from the string. I know it's a bit confusing, but these are just some of JavaScript's quirks. You just have to get used to them. So like when you're adding a number and a string, it just combines them. And when you're, it just thinks that, both of these are strings and it just combines it. But you cannot subtract a string from a string, you cannot subtract like you are from awesome, like if it were a sentence. So what it does is, in the first case, it thinks that this number is also a string. On the other hand, what it does over here is it thinks that this string is a number. But this is a very bad practice, so what I would suggest is that you don't mix them. You keep them separate, You keep the numbers with the numbers and you keep the strings with the strings. Actually, I skipped over this part before. So if we do, for example, this, you are minus awesome, give us this thing. This, you see, I told you blue is usually associated with numbers. So NaN means not a number. You can't do this. So JavaScript is just like, what are you trying to do over here? And now for our final type, at least in this section, in this video, is Booleans. Booleans just basically means true or false. So for example, I can do 2 is greater than 3, which is false. I can do 2 is less than 3, which is true. I can also do 5 is greater than equal to 6. It's false, but I can do 5 and less than equals to 6, which is true. So basically this is what Boolean is about. You just later on, when we will go into the course, you will understand why true and false is important, because we'll be creating whole statements, you know, like when you sign up on some page. So, you know, we'll be creating statements like, if username is equals to this, then true, that means grant you access to the page. If not, then it will, you know, trigger something at the back end and it will say it's false, then it will not let you log in. But uh, one thing that I want you guys to really pay attention to over here is what happens if I do this, like 5 is equal to 5. Like normally you would think it should say true, right? But no, it's an error. What if I do 5 is equals to 5 like this? It's true. So I'll explain you this a little bit later in my video, in the second video. But over here, just I want you to understand, like when you want to compare something in JavaScript, you need to use 3 is equal to signs, because we're going to be doing something in the next video called variables. And variables means when you assign a value to something. So over here, it's saying assign the value of 5 to 5, which doesn't make any sense. So basically, when you want to compare something with the is equal to sign, you have to do 3 is equal to's. I know this one might be a little bit confusing, but trust me, after the next video, you will understand it much better. For now, just remember that if you want to do this kind of, you know, if this is your scenario, you have to use 3 is equal to signs, like 6 is equals to 6. It's true. Now, let's see this one, 5. This one means is not equals to 5. False. Okay. Just like this means is equal to, the 3 is equal to signs mean like 1 is equal to sign. With exclamation mark and 2 is equal to signs, it becomes, you will read this as is not equal to. So 5 is not equals to 5 is false, because 5 is equals to 5. Now if I do 6 is not equals to 5, it's true, because 6 is equals to 6. It's not equals to 5. Well, these are the first 3 basic JavaScript types that you guys should remember. You guys should play around a little bit, open your console, try to do different variations, you know, get comfortable with it. You know, now I know there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening in the world of JavaScript, but this is where it all begins. So before we dive into the more complex stuff, I want you guys to, you know, really understand the concept of booleans, strings, and numbers. You can check them out or read more about them over the internet. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an exercise. You will see the question appearing on the screen. Pause the video over there, try to solve it, and then play it, and then you will be able to see the solution. But don't just rush to the solution and then go back and, you know, don't try to do that kind of stuff. Just try to first solve the questions I'm providing you guys, and then see how many of those you got right. So here is your exercise. These are the questions. Basically, all you can do is like, you know, the first one is very easy. So basically, you know, all you need to do is just copy it and you just paste it in the console, and then you press and you will get the answer. But don't do that at first. Just pause the video over here and try to guess the answers.